The little alien who spoke to a human. The station was cold, broken, and forgotten by most travelers. The lights above flickered, and the walls were covered in dust and old rust stains. Human workers repaired ships here, far from the busy galaxy, trade routes. David, a middle-aged human engineer, worked in silence. He wore a torn uniform and had grease on his hands. Life had become quiet after the war. He didn't talk much. He just worked, ate, and slept. But that day, something strange happened. As David tightened a bolt on a ship wing, he heard soft footsteps. Very soft. He turned slowly. A small alien girl stood a few feet away. She looked no older than 6 or 7. Her skin was a pale blue, and her eyes were wide and shiny like glass. Her clothes were dirty and torn. She held something close to her chest. A small old cloth bag. David frowned. "You lost, kid?" The girl didn't speak at first. She looked scared. Her hands shook. He tried again, softer this time. "Where's your family?" Then her lips moved. Her voice was quiet but clear. "Human. No one is helping my mother." David blinked. "What?" She took a step closer. "She cries every night since my father left. People say we are dirty. They throw stones at our door. We have no food, no warm water. But she still waits for him." David stood still. He didn't know what to say. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. The girl opened her small cloth bag. Inside was a tiny broken locket. She held it out carefully, like it was made of glass. David took it slowly and opened it. Inside was a faded picture of a man. His hands froze. The man in the picture was someone he knew, a human man with a kind smile, a scar on the chin, wearing a uniform, same as David's old unit. That man was Jaren, David's best friend, the man who had gone missing 5 years ago in a secret mission. David's breath caught in his throat. Where did you get this?" "He was my father," the girl said simply. "My name is Tila. My mother says you were his friend." David stepped back, confused and stunned. His friend had a child with an alien? "I don't understand," David whispered. "He died. That's what we were told. He never came back." Tila looked down.
"He never came home. But Mother says he saved her life. She says she still feels him, like he's watching. But she's sick now. She doesn't eat. She just cries." David looked at the locket again. It was real. Jaren's voice echoed in
his memory. "If anything ever happens to me, make sure you protect what's left." He clenched the locket in his hand. Tila tugged at his sleeve. "Will you come? Just for a moment. Please. She will be happy to see you." David hesitated. He looked around. No one was watching. Most humans on this station didn't care about aliens. In fact, they hated them. Mixed families were unwanted. Broken laws, they said, but David was not like them. "All right," he said finally. "Take me to her." Tila smiled faintly, her first smile that day. They walked through dark alleys, past old storage units and empty shops. Tila walked fast for her small legs. She didn't speak again. Her silence was louder than words. They reached a metal door, rusted and half-broken. She pushed it open. Inside was a small, cold room. No light, no heat. Just 2 blankets on the floor, 1 pot of old soup, and a figure lying down, thin, covered in cloth and not moving. Tila rushed forward. "Mama! Mama! He came!" The figure turned slowly. David's heart sank. She was once beautiful, maybe, but now she looked weak, sick, and pale. Her skin had lost color. Her eyes were red from crying. She stared at David and gasped. "You," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "David." He stepped closer. "You know me?" She nodded weakly. "You were with Jaren, his friend. He always spoke of you." David sat beside her. I thought he died. They said he vanished in a black zone. Tears rolled down her cheeks. He did vanish, but not before saving me. Not before loving me. Tila held her mother's hand. Mama, we're not alone now. David looked at them both. He felt something strange in his chest. Something warm. Something painful. He looked at the locket again, and he knew. He couldn't walk away now. A picture of a lost past David sat on the cold floor beside the weak alien woman. Her name was Lorna, and her face looked older than her years. But when she smiled at her daughter, Tila, David saw the woman his friend Jaren must have loved. The small locket rested in David's hand, the same locket Jaren used to wear around his neck. David remembered it well. It had been empty when Jaren carried it. Now it held a family. Lorna coughed. Her body was shaking. They said humans wouldn't help us, she said quietly. But I told Tila to find you. I remembered your name. David felt guilt burning in his chest. Jaren had gone on a secret mission. After that, he was declared missing. No one told David the full truth. And now, this woman and her child were all that remained of his friend. I should have searched harder, David muttered. Lorna shook her head. No one would listen. After he disappeared, they locked me up. They called me a liar. They took my home, my rights. They said Jaren was never here. David's eyes narrowed. They erased him. Yes, Lorna whispered. From every file, every record. He stood up. I'll fix this. I swear. She smiled softly, but her voice trembled. First, help Tila. She needs food. She hasn't eaten in days. David looked down at the girl. Tila was trying to stay strong, but her hands were too thin, her eyes too tired. He knew this was bigger than a promise now. Back at the station, David entered a locked room filled with old human tech. He connected his wrist drive to the command terminal. He typed Jaren's ID code, a number he could never forget. Access. Denied. Record not found. He tried another code, and another. Nothing. Suddenly, a red warning blinked on the screen. Security alert, unauthorized access. David yanked the drive out. Someone didn't want him digging into Jaren's past, not just hiding it, protecting it. But why? He looked at the locket again. The photo. Jaren's eyes. His smile. Something wasn't right. Later that night, David returned to the shelter with food, real food. Not rations, but hot stew, fruit, and clean water. Tila gasped. For us? David nodded. Yes, and more will come. They ate quietly. For the first time, Lorna looked peaceful. Tila laughed once, just once, and David's heart warmed. But peace didn't last long. A knock came at the metal door, then a second, louder. David moved fast and peeked through the small window. 2 alien guards. Tall, dressed in black armor. Lorna's face turned pale. They found us, David whispered. Who are they? She shook her head. Not police, not government, private soldiers. They work for someone powerful. They've been hunting us since Jaren died. The door shook. David turned to Lorna. We have to leave. Now. With no time to waste, David led them through the back alleys. Tila held her mother's hand tightly, her tiny legs moving fast. They slipped into a storage hangar. David used an old passcode to open a small cargo ship, barely working but enough to fly low. Get in, he said. As they flew away, David watched the city lights grow smaller behind them. His mind raced. If someone erased Jaren from every record, if someone was hunting his family, it meant Jaren knew something dangerous. And maybe Jaren never truly disappeared. They landed far outside the city in an abandoned port. It was cold but quiet, safe one for now. David set up small heaters inside the ship. He laid down blankets for Lorna and Tila. Then he sat in the corner staring at the locket. Suddenly, Tila walked over and sat beside him. "Did you love my father?" she asked. David nodded slowly. "He was like a brother to me. He saved my life once." Tila looked at the stars through the window. "Mama says he used to sing. She says he had a secret, a place he wanted to take us." David's heart skipped. "What secret?" Tila opened the locket and pressed a small button David hadn't noticed before. Click. A tiny light blinked from inside. Then a hologram appeared, faint, blue, and glitchy. It was Jaren. "Lorna, if you're seeing this, it means I'm gone. But you must protect Tila. There are people who will stop at nothing to keep her silent. She's special, she's proof of everything." David's hands trembled. The message cut off. "Proof of what?" he whispered. Lorna coughed behind him. "Of life, of unity, of what they fear the most." David looked at Tila. They weren't just running to survive now. They were carrying the truth, and the galaxy was not ready for it. The widow who knew his name. David hadn't slept. The old cargo ship creaked in the wind as it sat hidden in the ruins of the abandoned port. Night had fallen, but he just sat, staring at the frozen screen on his wrist pad. The last image of Jaren still floated in his mind, his old friend's voice warning them about the truth. Across the small ship, Lorna coughed in her sleep. Her body was still weak. Wrapped in a thin blanket, she looked more like a ghost than a woman. Tila slept beside her, curled up like a kitten, holding the broken locket in her hands. David stood quietly and walked outside. The stars above were cold and sharp. He looked up and whispered, "Jaren, what happened to you?" He felt something deep inside now. Not just guilt, but duty. Jaren was gone, and his family was being hunted. For what? A child? A love story between species or something more? At sunrise, Lorna woke slowly. David helped her sit up and gave her water. She looked at him with tired eyes. "You haven't changed much," she said softly. David gave a weak smile. "You've heard about me?" "Only through Jaren," she replied. "He spoke about you often. He trusted you. Said if anything ever happened, you would do the right thing." David sat beside her. "He was my best friend. We trained together. We fought side by side. But after his last mission, we were told he never returned. Nothing was recovered." Lorna's eyes grew darker. "Because they made him disappear." David frowned. "Who are they?" She hesitated, then spoke carefully. "The ones in power. The council. They sent him to spy on something. Something hidden deep in a forbidden sector. But Jaren found something else. A secret. One that could destroy everything the council built." David leaned in. "What kind of secret?" Lorna touched Tila's hair. "You're looking at it." He stared at the child. "Tila?" Lorna nodded. "She is not just part alien, part human. She's healthy, strong, smarter than her age, and kind, very kind. They said a child like her was impossible, that no human alien mix would ever survive." David's heart sank. "She's proof," Lorna whispered. "Yes, proof that peace is possible, that love works, that our two kinds are not so different, and that scares them more than war." Suddenly, a warning light blinked inside the ship. Motion detected, perimeter breached. David moved fast. He turned off the heaters, dimmed the lights, and grabbed a shock blaster from a hidden case. He peeked through a crack in the metal wall. 2 drones hovered nearby, scanning the area. They weren't local. They belonged to high-level security forces, ones that only answered to the council. David hissed. "They found us again." He looked back. "We have to go, now." Lorna tried to stand, but her legs shook. "I can't walk fast." David didn't wait. He grabbed her in his arms. Tila ran beside them as they slipped into the lower deck of the ship and started the engines. The ship groaned as it lifted. A blast from one drone hit the wing, But David dodged the next. He punched coordinates into the nav system. "Where are we going?" Lorna asked. "To someone who owes me a favor," David said. "An old friend who keeps secrets. If anyone has the truth about Jaren's mission, it's him." The ship flew low over the desert, hiding under the dust clouds. But inside, Tila suddenly gasped. Her fingers pointed to the hologram locket. "It's blinking again," she said. David opened it. A second message had appeared, a backup recording. Jaren's voice came through again. "If you've made it this far, then I failed. But there's one last place to go. A hidden vault in Sector 19. I stored everything, files, proof, names. They'll come for you. But if you make it there, you can show the truth to the galaxy." The screen cut. Lorna whispered, "I thought it was just a goodbye message, but he planned this." David clenched his jaw. "And we'll finish what he started." As the ship soared through the clouds, Lorna rested her head back. "You know," she said slowly, "when I first met Jaren, I thought he was foolish. He always smiled. Even when he was in danger, he called me his reason to fight." David smiled sadly. "That sounds like him." "I never expected him to stay," Lorna continued. "But he did. He gave up his career, broke the rules, lived in hiding just to be with me. We were happy until they came." She paused. Her voice shook. "They dragged him away, told me if I ever spoke of him, they'd take Tila too." David placed a hand on her shoulder. "They won't touch her." "Not anymore." Lorna looked at him. Her eyes filled with something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. For the first time, she whispered with strength. "Then I'll help you find the truth. For Jaren, and for Tila." David nodded. Because now it wasn't just about survival, it was about justice. "They lied to us." The small cargo ship floated through a narrow gas field, its engines quiet and lights dim. David didn't speak as he steered. Tila sat near a window, hugging her knees. Lorna rested beside her, weak but watching closely. None of them slept. They were being hunted, and worse, the people they once trusted had lied. David's mind spun. With memories and anger, he had believed the military report 5 years ago. Jaren Ross, killed in action. No remains found. He had mourned, drank alone that night, wore the black armband. But now he knew. Jaren didn't die in war. He was erased, hidden, silenced, by the very council they fought for. David clenched his fists around the flight controls. He thought of Tila's words, Lorna's story, the hologram. Everything made sense now. Jaren didn't die. He was taken. The ship docked in a deep space scrapyard, hidden inside an asteroid ring. No patrols ever came here. Only old criminals, broken robots, and people with nowhere else to go. David wore a hood as he led Lorna and Tila through the tunnels. They reached a steel door with a broken camera above it. David banged once, then twice. It opened slowly. Behind it stood a tall woman in armor, face scarred, one robotic eye glowing. "David?" she asked. He nodded. "Hello, Rena." She laughed. "I thought you were dead," he replied. "I thought Jaren was too." Her smile vanished. "Come in," she said. Inside the dusty control room, David explained everything. Jaren's locket, the erased files, the secret vault in Sector 19. Rena poured a drink. "You're saying the council covered it all up?" "Yes. And that little girl?" She looked at Tila, who stood quietly behind her mother. "Is the proof?" "She's the reason they're still chasing us." Rena sat back. "Well, damn." She opened a drawer and tossed a chip on the table. "This is the last comms log I saved from my days in Black Squad. Jaren sent a private signal from deep space. No coordinates, no reply." David loaded the chip. The screen showed a wave signal, then static. Then Jaren's voice, distorted. "Sector 19. Vault. If they find out, they'll kill us all." Then silence. David whispered, "So it's real." Rena nodded. But getting there won't be easy. It's a restricted zone. Patrols, traps, dead ships floating like graves. David looked at Lorna. You sure you want to do this? She answered. If we don't, they'll keep hunting her forever. Tila stepped forward. I'm not afraid. David smiled. You're just like your dad. Back at the ship, David checked the engines, fuel and nav systems. Everything had to be perfect. Suddenly, the radar flashed red. Incoming signal. He opened the comms. A cold voice spoke. David Ross, surrender the alien child. You have 12 hours. David's blood froze. How did they find us? A loud boom echoed across the scrapyard. A nearby ship exploded. He grabbed Lorna and Tila. Go! We leave now! As they launched, council ships began scanning the asteroid ring. David activated the stealth mode. Limited time, just enough to hide. Inside the ship, Lorna held Tila close. Don't worry, she whispered. We'll reach the vault. We'll show the galaxy the truth. David sent a final message to Rena. If we don't make it, tell them we tried. Hours later, they approached Sector 19. The stars disappeared as they flew into a black cloud. It was silent. Empty, like space itself was holding its breath. Then, debris. Thousands of broken ships floated like bones. Some were alien, some were human. All were destroyed. David slowed the ship. This must be the border, Lorna whispered. They called it a war zone, but there was no war here, was there? No, David said. This was a mass execution. The council didn't just erase Jaren. They erased everyone who got too close. A signal beeped from the locket. David opened it. A map appeared. A blinking dot. That's it, he said. The vault. As they flew closer, lights from below lit up a massive structure, half ship, half rock, hidden beneath the wreckage. Shields surrounded it. Codes were needed. Tila stepped forward. Let me try. David hesitated. You sure? She nodded. It's calling me. Tila pressed her hand on the scanner. The shield flashed, then turned green. Access granted. David and Lorna stared in shock. She's the key, David whispered. Lorna held her breath. She was always meant to be. The door opened. Inside waited the truth. Files, records, names. Proof that the council had lied. To the entire galaxy. But before they could step in, alarm blared. Red lights. The hunt begins. The alarm screamed through the vault like a warning from the dead. Intruders detected. Lockdown initiated. David pulled Tila behind him. Back. Stay behind me. The vault's door began to shut, heavy steel plates sliding from the walls. Lorna rushed forward, but David grabbed her hand and yanked both her and Tila inside. Just in time. The door slammed shut behind them. Darkness. Then, soft blue lights blinked on. Rows of data cores. Walls lined with glowing crystals. And screens. This place wasn't just a vault. It was a secret archive. David whispered, We made it. But they were not alone. High above the archive, tiny red eyes blinked in the dark. Defense drones. As David took a step forward, one dropped from the ceiling. It hovered mid-air, scanned his face, and spoke in a robotic voice. Clearance level, human. Unit, Ross, David. Recognized. Welcome. David froze. How? Lorna stared at him. Jaren must have programmed you in. The drone moved aside. Then, a screen lit up, showing Jaren's face again, clearer this time. If you're seeing this, my friend, then you found the vault. They will come for it now. I couldn't stop them, but maybe you can. Behind them, the vault door shook. Someone was already trying to break in. David moved fast. He connected his wrist pad to the main console. The screen showed encrypted files, names of council members, secret missions, experiments. They tested on alien children, David whispered. They called them failures. But Tila, she lived, Lorna said. She was never a failure. She's the proof they tried to bury. Tila stepped forward. The console changed. Her presence unlocked deeper files. Genetic ID match found. Authorized bloodline. Ross. Tila. Another screen opened. A hidden video. Jaren sat in a dark room holding baby Tila. They will say she's a mistake, but she's perfect. Please, if I don't make it back, protect her. Let the truth survive. Let her survive. David's chest ached. Then the console flashed red. Unauthorized approach detected. The vault door cracked. Outside, 2 council ships hovered above the ruins. A dropship landed hard on the surface. Soldiers in black armor stepped out. At their front stood a tall human man with silver hair and sharp eyes. Commander Reese, one of the council's loyal enforcers. Bring me the child, he ordered. Inside the vault, David activated defense systems. Drones flew up, guarding the entrance. He turned to Lorna. We can't stay, they'll destroy this place. Lorna looked at the glowing data crystal. Take it, all of it. It's the truth. David grabbed a core drive and downloaded everything. Then the vault door exploded open. Smoke filled the air. David fired. A flash of light blasted across the vault as he hit the first soldier. Run, he shouted to Lorna and Tila. Lorna lifted Tila and ran toward the back exit, a narrow tunnel Jaren had mentioned in his message. David followed, firing behind him. Reese stepped through the smoke, eyes locked on David. Still alive, Ross? He said coldly. You always were a problem, David growled, and you always cleaned up the council's mess. Reese smiled. You don't understand. That child is the mess. In the escape tunnel, Lorna's leg gave out. She fell hard but didn't cry. Tila helped her up. Mama, please, we have to go. David reached them, panting. There's a ship ahead. If we reach it, we can fly out. Behind them, explosions rocked the vault. Tila's eyes suddenly lit. She pressed the locket. A second tunnel opened, hidden beneath the floor. David stared. How did you know? Tila said. He showed me, in my dreams. Lorna whispered. She's always seen things, felt things. Jaren's blood, and something more. They crawled through the escape tunnel as the vault collapsed behind them. Reese followed, shouting orders, but the tunnel shut tight after them. They emerged near the edge of a canyon, a hidden landing pad. And there it was, a small black ship with the words, Unity Prototype, Class 1. David stared. That was Jaren's test ship. They said it was destroyed. He helped Lorna aboard. Tila sat in the front seat and placed the crystal into the console. The ship powered up instantly. David grinned. She knows how to fly it? She feels it, Lorna said. It's like it was built for her. As the ship lifted off, council drones chased after them. David took the gun controls. Hold tight. They sped through the canyon, dodging. Blasts, Tila whispered to the ship, and the controls moved on their own. Reese shouted through comms. You can run, Ross, but the truth will burn with you, David replied, calm and firm. No, Reese, this time the truth flies free. As the stars opened before them, the stolen ship leapt into hyperspace. David looked at the child beside him. Not just his friend's daughter. Not just a survivor. But the galaxy's spark of change. The final message. The stars stretched like rivers of light as the Unity prototype ship raced through hyperspace. Inside, silence. David leaned against the wall of the control room, his breathing uneven. His arm was bandaged, burned during the vault escape. Across from him, Lorna slept deeply, finally free from fear. For now. And at the front of the ship sat Tila, staring at the glowing stars. She wasn't crying. She wasn't scared. She looked calm, like she belonged among the stars. David stepped closer. How are you feeling, kid? Tila turned slowly. The ship is warm. It listens when I talk. David blinked. You mean, it understands you? Tila nodded. He built it for me. I know it now. David looked at the ship's dashboard. It had no buttons, only glowing symbols and soft lights. Jaren's final creation wasn't just a ship, it was alive. Later, as the ship entered neutral space, a hidden beacon activated. A signal. Soft at first, then growing louder. The ship's screen flickered. A voice echoed from the speakers. Message. Stored. Awaiting activation by Ross Tila. David's eyes widened. Tila, he said gently. Touch the center panel. She placed her hand on it. The room darkened. A life-size hologram of Jaren appeared, clear and full. He was sitting, older, his face tired, but determined. His hand rested on something behind the camera. Maybe the ship. If you're seeing this, Jaren began, then I'm truly gone, and that means it's your turn, my child. Lorna woke slowly and sat up. Tears filled her eyes. Jaren's voice was soft. Tila, I built this ship for you. I knew they would try to take your future away, but you are not a mistake. You are hope. You are proof that love between species is not wrong, that we are more alike than different. The hologram showed old files, footage of council labs, children, locked in cages, files labeled, Hybrid Project Terminated. David felt sick. Jaren continued, They lied to the galaxy. They said hybrids always died, but you lived, and they were afraid, because if others found out, war would end, fear would lose, and peace would rise. Tila's lips trembled. David placed a hand on her shoulder. Jaren's voice grew stronger. Inside this ship is everything you need. Records, names, secrets, and flight paths to safe places. There are others like you. Some hiding, some waiting. Find them, show the truth. The image paused. Then, something changed. Jaren leaned closer. And David, if you're with them. Thank you, brother. David's throat closed. You always asked what I was willing to die for, Jaren said. Now you know. Then, the message ended. Silence. Lorna cried quietly. David turned away, wiping his eyes. The screen lit again. This time, not a message, but a map. Lines spread out like veins from the ship, dozens of locations marked in red. Tila looked at it. He found others, like me. David studied the map. If we send this to the right people, we can break the council's lies. But we can't send it from here, Lorna warned. The signal will be traced. David nodded. There's only one place. The old broadcast station, hidden in the asteroid maze. The asteroid maze was dangerous, unstable, filled with gravity pockets, debris, and pirates. But it also had one thing the council couldn't control, an open signal tower. David set the course. Tila took the seat beside him. We'll make it, I know we will. When they reached the maze, huge rocks floated in slow motion, colliding silently. David dodged carefully. Even a small hit would crush the ship. Suddenly, red lights flashed. Warning. Enemy ship detected. Council destroyers. They're here, Lorna said. David's jaw clenched. How did they find us again? Tila whispered. They never stopped following. David looked at her. You scared? She smiled softly. Not anymore. They reached the station. Old, broken, but still working. David and Tila rushed inside while Lorna stayed with the ship. Inside the control room, David loaded the crystal. The screen lit up, ready to broadcast. Just then, a blast shook the station. Council. Troops had landed. Lorna's voice came through the comms. David! Go, I'll stall them. No, she shut the channel. Outside, Lorna stood at the ship's ramp, blaster in hand. She was weak, but brave, and she wasn't running anymore. Inside the tower, David uploaded the files. Tila stood beside him, silent. The data streamed live council secrets, names, records, broadcast to every major channel across the galaxy. Within minutes, the universe would know. David pressed one final button, send. The console shut down, fried from the power surge. "We did it," he whispered. Tila smiled. Then she turned to the door. "Now we fight." In the sky above, council ships swarmed the area, but the truth was already out, and the fire had started. Hope for a broken family, the broadcast was done. The truth was out, and now, the galaxy was burning with questions. Inside the broken tower, David held his breath. The screen in front of him was dark. The files were sent, every lie exposed. The Council's darkest secrets now floated freely through space, reaching rebel channels, neutral systems, and even alien empires. He turned to Tila. She stood still, her tiny face glowing in the fading red emergency lights. "We did it," David whispered. But Tila didn't smile. She looked toward the door. "They're coming," she said. Outside, the sky filled with fire. Council fighters were diving toward the station, and standing at the edge of the landing pad was Lorna. She fired, shot after shot, at the incoming soldiers. One of them shouted, "Take the girl alive." Lorna narrowed her eyes. "You'll never touch her." She growled. A blast hit near her feet, but she didn't run. She had run for too many years. Not today. Inside, David grabbed Tila's hand. "We have to get back to the ship," he said. "But..." "Mama." Tila tried to run, but David pulled her back. "She gave us this chance. We can't waste it." Tears filled Tila's eyes, but she nodded. "Then let's make her proud." They ran through the shattered hallways. Explosions shook the station. Dust fell from the ceiling. Smoke filled the air. As they neared the exit, the ship came into view, still standing, still glowing. David opened the hatch and pushed Tila inside. Suddenly, a voice called out behind them, "Don't move!" Commander Reese. His gun was pointed at David's back. "Step aside," Reese said coldly. "Give me the girl, and I might let you live." David didn't flinch. "It's over. The galaxy knows." "They'll forget," Reese sneered. "They always forget. But she is living proof, and I will erase her just like I erased her father." Tila stood at the ship's door, silent. Then softly she said, "You're scared of me." Reese growled, "I'm not afraid of a half-breed mistake." Tila's eyes narrowed. She raised the locket. A pulse of light shot from it. Not a weapon, but a signal. The ship responded instantly. Its engines lit up. The shields activated. David dove aside as the blast deflected Reese's gun. The commander stumbled. David tackled him to the ground. They struggled, fists flying. Years of anger, grief, and betrayal came crashing together. Reese reached for his gun again, but Tila pressed a button on the ship's console. A defense drone shot out and zapped the commander with a stun bolt. He fell, unmoving. David breathed, hard, looking at Tila. "Remind me never to fight you," he joked. They didn't wait. The ship launched into the sky, leaving the burning station behind. Tila sat silently, watching the stars again. "She stayed," she whispered. David placed a hand on her shoulder. "She protected you, just like Jaren did." Tila sniffed. "I don't want to be alone again." "You're not," David said gently. "You'll never be alone again." She looked up at him. "Will you stay with me?" David smiled. "Yes, always." Weeks later, news of the broadcast had spread across the galaxy. The council was collapsing. Protests, revolts, and trials were happening everywhere. But far from the chaos, David and Tila stayed hidden, living in an old farm ship in a peaceful belt. Tila went outside every day, planting flowers. She had never seen real plants before. Now she touched each one like a treasure. David repaired old droids. He cooked real food. for the first time in years. He laughed. One evening a signal arrived, not from the council, but from others, a family, then 2, then 20, aliens, humans, hybrids, children like Tila, families like Jaren's. They were reaching out. The galaxy was healing. Later that night, Tila sat on the ship's roof watching the stars. David joined her. "Do you miss them?" he asked. She nodded. "Every day, but I feel them here." She touched her chest. David looked up at the sky. "They started something, didn't they?" Tila smiled. "They started everything." She rested her head on David's arm. "I'm glad you're here," she said. "I'm glad you found me," David whispered back. "Actually, you found me." And there, in the quiet of the stars, a new chapter began. Not of war, not of fear, but of hope, of a broken family made whole, of a little alien girl, and the human who chose to stand beside her when no one else did. The end.